to? What was going on well offensively for you guys to get more looks at the basket?
No, I mean, Robin Lopez is really big. Chris Stapps is big. Derrick Williams is really versatile and got to the paint a lot himself. Kyle O'Quinn is a physical player who plays on the interior a lot. So, I think our guys just took advantage of who they are. It's not as popular to post the ball and play through bigs like it used to be, but we still think for us there's enough opportunity to attack through big players as well as combining that with good effective penetration by guards and other shot attempts. But that to me that's the biggest reason why is just the players we have.
And is the offense just at a much better spot now than it was at this time last season, just in regards to how smoothly it's running?
I think it'll always be a work in progress because it's, there are some intricacies that I don't think you ever particularly master. But what we tried to do this year, I think different than a year ago, was, really streamline things that we didn't feel like were necessary to get in right away in the first month. And really give our guys a menu of things that they can focus on becoming good at for now. And then hopefully as we grow and evolve as a team over time, then we can add layers, we can add, different options and things that require them to think a little bit more. So not as heavy in the instruction department, but really having them focus on playing hard, playing with energy, competing, and then, the offense can evolve over time.
Coach, what have you seen out of Kyle, specifically through training camp and the preseason, that makes you think that he will be a valuable asset to the team?
Well, I think he's present and he has a presence. Like when he's in the room, when he's around, he's there. He's talking, he's communicating, and I think he's accelerating, the communication process that has to happen in a team environment. Guys have to be willing to talk and confront and express how they're feeling and what they're thinking. And Kyle's, playing that role right away. And that makes a difference, in particular on the defensive end. He has a presence on the floor, and I think guys enjoy playing with him. And we'll see in terms of over the course of the season, but I think those are all things that he can sustain. It's not a statistical thing. We don't need him to be 15 and 12 every night, but he can be himself every night, and I think that's good for us.
Coach, it's just one regular season game, but when you see a player like Derrick Williams have preseason he's had and to go out and put up numbers like he did yesterday, how long do you need to see a guy score at that level, succeed at that level, before you sort of have a sense, all right, this is a real leap forward and we can start to rely on it?
No, I mean, I think that's a really good question. There's a pretty small number of guys in our league that every night, you pencil in 25 or 23 or, 21 because that's just who they are and that's what the team has to have in order for them to win. I think with Derrick, for us, he has that ability. I think there will be a lot of nights where he's in the high teens, early 20s or more. But I think the biggest growth area for him, which I think will become possibly the biggest upside for us as a team, is when he has 8 points, but he's still impacting the game at a very high level with the athleticism, the ability to guard multiple people on the defensive end, to still rebound the basketball, make plays for other people. To me, that's the biggest challenge for Derrick this year. Is not just when it's going well and you're scoring 20 points, but when you're scoring 8, are you still engaged? Are you still locked in? Are you still playing with that level of passion as though you're scoring 20 tonight?
Coach, regarding the faster pace you guys are playing at, what prompted you to implement that this season as opposed to the last?
Well, I don't think it was something that we didn't, express or try and accomplish a season ago. Sometimes it's just in the way you express, what's important, how you kind of lay out your priorities. And I think it was difficult for all of us a year ago trying to come in and implement a new system, a new way of playing basketball offensively. And I think in a lot of ways we allowed the conversation about the triangle to drive everybody's mindset. And this year we kind of, even though our offense hasn't changed really, what we wanted to make clear to our guys is that when we make people miss, the first objective is to go score as quickly as possible before the defense gets set. So there's no shape to that. You just go down and try and score as quickly as you can. But also trust the fact that we do have a format we can play out of if the defense is back. And I just think that helped our guys a lot, that we didn't overemphasize what happens after the defense is back. Take advantage of what's there first. And, we won't score 122 every night, but hopefully, we can score more than we did a year ago.
We watched a couple of all-bench units for pretty significant minutes last night. Obviously, the score got out of hand a little bit at one point, but was that something you planned on doing anyway? And what is it that you like about that group playing together?
Well, it seems like so far, at least, through the preseason and in the game last night, they seem to impact the game with their energy and their defense. And I just think you reward players for having an impact on the game that way. I don't think it'll be that way every night. I do think you have to, at times, have your key guys on the floor, a couple of your starters combined with some bench guys to bring some balance to the team. But because Derrick's scoring the basketball really well coming off the bench, I think that gives a guy in that second unit that's providing the scoring. I don't know if there's a plan in concrete about all second unit guys being on the floor for extended minutes, but if they're coming in the game and changing the game the way they are so far, I don't see why it shouldn't be that way.
When you watch Carmelo now versus, he banged up so early last year. He shot the ball poorly last year. Did you wonder after the game, was he hurt? And versus like last night, where you just say, okay, just a bad shoe night, whatever. Does that change at all?
No, I think last year we knew early, even though he wasn't injured as badly as he was towards the end in terms of February and having the surgery. I don't know if we ever thought of it as though the injury was why maybe he didn't shoot well tonight. He was also learning how to play a new offense and a new system. And so, in terms of shooting what he shot last night, the defense was really, highly in tune to him and forcing him to take either lower percentage shots or pass to other teammates. So we know he's healthy, and I don't think we're concerned about what he shoots night in and night out. I think what was most important last night was, that despite not shooting well, he played the game. He was committed to still making the plays he needed to make for his teammates. So, hopefully we don't ever have to think about, whether or not an injury is playing into how he's playing. I thought he still had a high level game, even though he didn't shoot well last night.
After a year like last year, did you take more pleasure out of being able to do the post-game process, everything else with your team following your 25-point win, just personally and also just in terms of communicating with your guys?
No, I think more for the players. Positive feedback is good. So, if you go out and practice, you work hard, you go out and win a game, no matter what the score is, there's more positive feedback than maybe negative. That helps energize you. You're more excited about coming back to practice or playing the next game. For me as a coach, I think in a leadership position, I don't know if you should waver up and down that much. I think there should be kind of a focus on the process that doesn't change with the final score. And so for me, in terms of post-game, I'm not saying much different than what I would say, other than it's great to win on the road in the NBA. But nobody's going to care tomorrow when we play Atlanta about what you did tonight. And, here we are at the Garden. Last night is not going to help us when we go out and play the Hawks in a few minutes. So, things for me don't change often from that standpoint. The game is too big and there are too many other things to focus on. So it's just one night at a time right now.
You're going to see one of your former players in Tim Hardaway. I know we're a little removed from it, but what went into the thought process in that deal and what are the objectives?
Well, I think most of those conversations happened before I was aware in terms of Phil and Steve making the decisions, kind of on draft night and what went into getting to a point where then right before then it's brought to me in terms of, how I feel about it. I think from Jaren we're seeing why we wanted to acquire a player like what he brings to us. I don't think it was anything about what Tim can't be. I think Tim has a bright future. He's a solid young man. That's why he was drafted here. That's why we believed in him. That's why he had the opportunities he had a season ago. So sometimes it's not so much about what a player isn't as much as it is about what a player that you're possibly going to be able to get can be. I think Jaren has more skills as a guard in terms of ball handling and decision making that are really going to be helpful for us long term. And for me as a coach, I think when I was brought into the discussion, those things were exciting to me, and I basically said okay to a decision that was pretty much already at the brink of being made.
What do you like best about Grant last night? 0 turnovers or running the offense? What was most impressive?
No, I thought he looked comfortable. I think for a young guard in this rookie season, the game is moving really fast. Even if you're a fast player, there's just a lot of decisions that you're learning how to make for the first time in a real game in the NBA. And I just thought he looked under control. He looked poised. He didn't look as though there were situations he hadn't faced before. He won't always look that way, but I think that was impressive for a first-year guy to be able to go on the road, just have a solid basketball game. Nothing really heroic about it or fancy, but just being solid. And young players, struggle with it at times, but I thought he handled that well.
Derrick, when you think back to the summer that you all had, obviously some people were very critical of the fact that there was no star name necessarily, but when you think back to that and you look at the game that you got to play yesterday, Carmelo shoots poorly, and then you guys still managed to win by 25. When you thought in your head of this little power gun when it came into this roster, did you kind of picture something that would be the way it was yesterday where you're getting contributions from everybody, but not necessarily big household names?
Yeah, man, but I think contributions from everybody, regardless of who's on your team, are more important than anything. There have been no championship teams that have relied on one person or two people even. I was fortunate enough to be on several teams that were championship level teams, and it was the other guys that make the biggest difference. So yeah, it's Kobe and Shaq, but there are all these other guys from Robert Horry and Rick Fox, et cetera, that make big contributions. So in terms of building a team or a roster, it's never about being able to say, all right, well, Carmelo and this guy who everybody thinks is a superstar, and we're good. It doesn't work that way. And so we're just trying to create an environment where anybody and everybody that's on our team, I think, feels the pressure and the expectation that they still have to perform at a high level, regardless of their last name. They shouldn't view themselves that way. If you guys want to do that, that's fine. But if you're in the NBA and you're on this team, then you should believe in yourself as much as anybody.